Part 1, My wife's yoga classes weren't what I thought. Posted in r/true off my chest, throwaway account. Okay, so I've been lurking on Reddit forever and never thought I'd actually post something this personal, but here we are. I don't even know if I'm looking for advice, validation, or just a place to dump the chaos rattling around in my brain right now. This is gonna be long, but I swear it's worth the read. So, my wife, let's call her Emma, has been going to yoga for about a year. At first, I thought it was great. She's always been health conscious, but she's also the kind of person who loves structure and community, so yoga seemed like a perfect hobby. Twice a week, sometimes 3. She'd grab her mat, throw on those tight yoga pants, kiss me goodbye, and head out the door with that "I'm doing something good for myself" glow. Honestly, I encouraged it. But here's the thing, at some point, stuff just stopped adding up. At first, it was tiny things. She'd come back later than the class was supposed to end. Like, I looked up the schedule on the studio's website once when I was thinking about surprising her with flowers afterward. Class ends at 7:30. She didn't get home until 8:15. Traffic, she said. Sure, okay. But we live like 10 minutes from the studio, tops. Then there were the showers. She'd come home and immediately head to the bathroom, lock the door, and shower before even saying more than, "Hey." I didn't think too much of it because, yeah, yoga is sweaty. But after a while, I noticed she didn't smell like she'd just been in a hot, sweaty class. Sometimes she smelled like cologne. Not perfume. Cologne. And the phone. Holy hell, the phone. Always face down. Always on silent. I'd walk into the room, and she'd swipe her screen off so fast you'd think she was training for an Olympic event in phone locking. She'd laugh at something and then when I asked what was funny, it was always, "Oh, just a meme from Sarah." Who the hell is Sarah? She doesn't even have a close friend named Sarah. Now, before anyone jumps in with, "Dude, you're paranoid," let me back up. I trusted Emma. I mean, we've been married for 6 years, together for almost 9. We've had our ups and downs like anyone, but nothing I'd classify as serious cracks. She's affectionate, funny, my partner in everything. So when this weird stuff started, my brain didn't go straight to cheating. I thought maybe she was depressed, or stressed, or maybe planning some kind of surprise for me. Hell, I even thought maybe she was secretly smoking weed after class and didn't want me to know. But then, I couldn't ignore the gut feeling anymore. You know that instinct that gnaws at you even when everything looks normal on the surface? Yeah. That. So I did the thing I never thought I'd do, I snooped. I'm not proud of it. But when someone you love starts acting like a stranger in their own home, you either keep blinders on or you dig. And I dug. The first break was her gym bag. She left it in the car one night, and I went out to grab my jacket. I saw it sitting there, half unzipped. I wish I could say I didn't open it, but come on, I'm only human. Inside was her yoga mat, sure. But also, and here's where the pit in my stomach really started, lingerie. Not just any lingerie. The lacy, strappy stuff that she never wore for me. A red set, with tags still attached. Why the hell do you need lingerie for yoga, Emma? I didn't say anything right away. I put it back exactly as I found it, zipped up the bag, and went inside like nothing happened. That night, I barely slept. I kept staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself there was a logical explanation. But the truth was screaming in my head, this wasn't about yoga anymore. The next day, I decided to work from home. She had class at 6:30, and I told her I had a late meeting. At 6:15, I watched from the window as she pulled out of the driveway. I gave her a 5-minute head start, then grabbed my keys and followed. I felt like some bargain bin private investigator, heart hammering, palms sweaty on the steering wheel. She didn't drive to the yoga studio. She drove past it. Kept going. My stomach dropped as I tailed her through a couple neighborhoods until she pulled into the parking lot of this small apartment complex. She parked, grabbed her bag, and went inside one of the units like she'd done it 1,000 times. And that was it. Proof. Not speculation. Not paranoia. Proof. I sat there in my car, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white, just staring at that door. I don't know how long I waited. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. I wanted to march up there, pound on the door, and blow it all up right then. But something in me froze. Instead, I drove home in a fog. She came back around 8:30, humming like she'd just had the most relaxing yoga session of her life. I asked her how class was. She smiled and said, "Really good, I feel amazing." I nodded. Inside, I felt like my chest was caving in. That night, I barely said 2 words. She noticed. "You okay?" she asked, curling up next to me on the couch. I mumbled something about being tired. She kissed my cheek and went back to scrolling her phone, probably messaging him. I couldn't keep pretending. The next day, I called up a buddy of mine, let's call him Dan, who's the kind of guy you can tell anything to. I laid it all out. The bag, the apartment, everything. He listened and then said, "Man, you gotta catch her in the act. No more guessing." So we made a plan. Dan offered to come with me the next time she had yoga. We'd follow her together, park discreetly, and if she went back to that same apartment, well, then I'd decide if I wanted to confront her right there or gather more evidence. I thought I was ready. I thought bracing myself for the worst would make it easier. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what we saw the next Thursday night. Because when Emma walked into that apartment, it wasn't just anyone's place. It was the apartment of her yoga instructor. Part 2, Confronting the Truth About My Wife's Yoga. Posted in r/true off my chest, throwaway account, continued from part 1. So, yeah. Last time I left off, me and my buddy Dan followed my wife, Emma, to see if my suspicions were real or just me being a paranoid idiot. Turns out, they were real. Worse than real. She wasn't just skipping yoga. She was going to her yoga instructor's apartment. That moment? My heart sank into a pit I didn't know existed. Because you can rationalize a lot of things when you don't have faces or names attached. But seeing her walk into his building? That made it concrete. Like the universe saying, "Yep, buddy. She's screwing her yoga teacher." Dan and I sat there in his car, staring. He kept glancing at me like he was waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. I was weirdly calm, almost numb. I think part of me had already accepted it the second she pulled into that complex the first time. "Dude," Dan said finally, "what do you want to do? We could go up there right now." And for a split second, I imagined it. Storming up to the door, pounding on it, watching her face freeze when she saw me standing there. Catching them red-handed, maybe even throwing a punch or two. The movie version of Betrayal. But the reality is, I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. So instead, I shook my head. No. I need to think. I need to know how deep this goes. Dan nodded, like he got it, even though I could see he was itching for me to take action. He's always been the hot-headed one. We waited about an hour before she came out. Hair a little messy, cheeks flushed, yoga mat slung over her shoulder like she'd just finished class. I almost laughed at the audacity. She got into her car, drove home, and 20 minutes later she was walking through our front door with the same fake smile and the same "yoga was great" line. That night, lying next to her while she slept, I stared at the ceiling again. My mind was on fire. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the lies, the routine, the absolute confidence she had that I'd never notice. And maybe the part that cut deepest, all those times she'd been smiling at me, holding my hand, making me dinner, and then turning around and giving herself to him. The next day, I started digging harder. I went through phone records. Pro tip, even if she deletes messages, you can see call logs from your shared phone account. There it was. His number, popping up almost daily. Calls at weird times. Texts around midnight when she thought I was asleep. I even checked our joint bank account. That lingerie set I found? Bought 2 weeks ago. At a store she told me she never shops at. Dinner charges near his apartment, always on yoga nights. Uber rides from his area back 2 hours. She thought she was covering her tracks, but she was sloppy. And here's where it gets really twisted, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I don't know why, but something in me wanted to build a complete picture before blowing it all up. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was fear, maybe it was just me stalling because once you open that door, there's no closing it. But my breaking point came sooner than I expected. It was the following Tuesday. She said she had yoga at 6:30 again. By now, my blood pressure spiked every time she grabbed that mat. I told her I was heading to Dan's place. Instead, I followed her. Same route. Same apartment. Same gut punch when she walked inside. Only this time, I didn't just sit in the car. I couldn't. Something snapped. I parked, got out, and walked toward the building. My hands were shaking, my heart hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. I found his unit, 2B, and stood outside the door for what felt like forever. I could hear muffled laughter inside. Hers. His. It made me nauseous. My fist hovered over the door, ready to knock, ready to end it. But instead of knocking, I did something I'm not sure I'm proud of, I tried the handle. And it was unlocked. I pushed the door open just a crack, enough to see inside. And there they were. Not in bed, but close. She was sitting on his couch in that stupid yoga outfit, legs draped over his lap, laughing at something on his phone. He leaned in and kissed her, just casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Like my wife wasn't married. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My ears were ringing. It was like watching my life implode through a dirty window. I don't even know how, but I pulled myself back and shut the door silently. Then I stumbled down the hall, out of the building, and into my car. I sat there with my head on the steering wheel, shaking. I wanted to scream, to smash something, but instead I just drove. I didn't go home. I went to a cheap motel and checked in for the night. I told her I was staying at Dan's because of work stuff. She bought it without hesitation. Of course she did. She probably loved having the night free. I didn't sleep a damn second. I kept replaying that scene in my head. Her laugh. His hand on her leg. The kiss. The absolute normalcy of it. Like their little affair had been going on so long that it was second nature. The next morning, I went home. She greeted me with a smile and a kiss, asking how my night was. I looked at her and wanted to vomit. But I smiled back and said, fine. That's when I knew, I couldn't keep this inside anymore. I called Dan again. Told him everything. He practically yelled at me through the phone, you need to confront her, man. This is eating you alive. And he was right. So I planned it out. I'd wait until her next class, follow her again, and this time I wouldn't just watch. I'd go in. I'd confront them both. No more half measures. Thursday rolled around. She grabbed her mat, kissed me goodbye, and left. I followed, heart pounding so loud I thought the whole car could hear it. She pulled into the lot, went inside his building. I gave her 5 minutes, then I went in after her. This time, I didn't hesitate. I marched right up to 2B, knocked once, and when he opened the door, I pushed past him into the apartment. And there she was. Standing in the kitchen, wine glass in hand, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. Yoga, huh? I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was calm, but shaking underneath. She stammered, what are you doing here? I laughed. I couldn't help it. What am I doing here? What the hell are you doing here, Emma? Her instructor, let's call him Jason, tried to step in, holding up his hands like I was some wild animal. Look, man, let's just. Shut up, I snapped. You don't get to talk. Emma set the glass down, her hands trembling. It's not what you think. Not what I think? I barked out a laugh. Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what I think. Silence. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then finally whispered, I'm sorry. And just like that, my world cracked in half. Because sorry doesn't cut it when the person you built your life with has been sneaking around behind your back. Jason tried again, listen, maybe we should sit down and. I spun on him. Do you enjoy screwing married women? Is that your thing? You prey on people who trust you? He looked genuinely nervous now, muttering something about how it just happened. Emma started crying. Not the guilty, fake kind, real sobs. She reached for me, but I pulled back like her touch burned. I loved you, I said, my voice breaking for the first time. And you threw it all away. For him? She was crying harder now, saying she didn't mean for it to happen, that it was a mistake, that she still loved me. But all I could hear was the sound of my own heart cracking. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at her one last time and said, "We're done." Then I walked out. I drove aimlessly for hours before ending up at Dan's place. Told him everything. He poured me a drink and just let me sit there, staring into space. And here's the kicker, as broken as I felt, as furious as I was, a small, sick part of me wondered if I should believe her when she said it was just a mistake. But then, later that night, I got a message that changed everything. Not from her. Not from Jason. From someone I never expected. Part 3, the message that changed everything. Posted in r/true off my chest, throwaway account, continued from part 2. So, last time I left off, I finally confronted Emma at her yoga instructor's apartment. It was ugly, it was raw, and I walked out. I thought that was the end. I thought the worst part was over. Turns out, the universe had one more curveball for me. That night, after crashing at Dan's, I was scrolling through my phone in this dazed, hollow state when I saw a message request on Facebook. Normally I ignore those, but the name caught my eye, Megan. I didn't recognize it at first. The profile picture was a woman with 2 little kids. Her message just said, "Hey, I think we need to talk. It's about Jason." Jason. The yoga instructor. The guy my wife had been cheating with. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. "What about him?" Her reply came fast. "I'm his fiancé." My blood ran cold. Fiancé. As in, he wasn't just some sleazy instructor hitting on my wife for fun, he had a whole-ass partner at home. We went back and forth for hours. Turns out Megan and Jason had been engaged for almost a year. They lived together in that apartment. She was the mother of his 2 kids. And she had suspected something for months but couldn't prove it. She found my profile through tagged photos of Emma at the yoga studio. Then she put the pieces together after noticing Jason suddenly started working late on class nights. So yeah. While Emma was sneaking around on me, Jason was sneaking around on Megan. 2 families. 2 relationships. Both nuked because of their little yoga sessions. I told her everything I'd seen, everything Emma had told me, every receipt and phone record I'd dug up. She thanked me, actually thanked me, for finally giving her the confirmation she needed. And then she dropped the bomb. She said she'd already hired a private investigator. Apparently, she'd suspected Jason long before Emma even joined his class. She had photos. Videos. Logs. And not just of Emma. Yeah. Let that sink in. Jason wasn't just cheating with my wife. He'd been hooking up with at least 3 other women from his classes. Married women. Single women. Anyone who looked at him twice. I felt sick. Not just because of what Emma did, but because of the sheer pattern of it. She wasn't special to him. She was just another notch on the yoga mat. The next day, Megan and I actually met up. 2 strangers, bonded by betrayal. We sat in this little coffee shop, both of us looking like hell, both clutching our mugs like they were life rafts. She showed me photos the PI had taken, Emma going into Jason's apartment, Emma leaving hours later. And then other women, too. Different nights. Different faces. Same routine. That was the moment something shifted in me. Because until then, part of me, the broken, desperate part, still wanted to believe Emma's tears. Still wanted to believe her, "I'm sorry, it was just a mistake." But looking at those photos? seeing her as just another interchangeable fling to this guy? That killed the last ember of denial inside me. I went home that night and told Emma flat out, I know everything. I know about Jason. I know about the other women. I've seen the proof. She crumbled. Full on sobbing, begging, swearing she had no idea about the others, that she thought she was different, that she thought he actually cared about her. She said she felt manipulated, that he took advantage of her when she was vulnerable. And here's the thing, maybe that's true. Maybe Jason is a manipulative piece of trash who preys on women in his classes. But Emma still made a choice. She still lied to me, snuck around, carried lingerie in her gym bag, smiled at me while plotting her next session. Manipulated or not, she betrayed me. I told her I was filing for divorce. She begged. She promised therapy, promised to cut him off, promised anything I wanted if I just gave her one more chance. She even tried to turn it around, saying, you can't just throw away 6 years of marriage over one mistake. And that's when I lost it. One mistake? I shouted. Do you even hear yourself? Sneaking around for months, lying to my face, screwing your yoga instructor in his apartment while telling me you're at class, that's not a mistake. That's a whole other life you were living. She cried harder. But I was done. The next weeks were a blur. I moved in with Dan while I got my ducks in a row. Met with a lawyer. Started dividing things up. Emma kept trying to reach me, calls, texts, even showing up at Dan's once. I ignored her. Because what was there left to say? Meanwhile, Megan dropped Jason like a bad habit. She kicked him out, changed the locks, and filed for full custody of the kids. Last I heard, he's couch surfing with some friend, his reputation in shambles. Word got out at the yoga studio, too. Half the students quit when they found out he'd been sleeping with clients. I heard he lost his teaching gig. And Emma? She's... I don't know. Broken, maybe. Lost. She moved back in with her parents after I made it clear I wasn't coming back. Every now and then I'll get a long, emotional email about how she regrets everything, how she wishes she could undo it. I don't even reply anymore. Because here's the truth, once someone shows you who they really are, you can't unsee it. I look at her now, and all I see is the woman who chose lies over honesty, lust over love, temporary thrills over our life together. Do I still love her? Part of me does, yeah. You don't just switch that off. But I don't trust her. And without trust, love doesn't mean much. As for me? I'm in therapy. Trying to rebuild. Trying to remember who I am outside of being Emma's husband. Some days are better than others. Some nights I still lie awake replaying everything, wondering how I missed the signs for so long. But here's the weirdest part, I don't regret finding out. As much as it shattered me, I'd rather live with the truth than spend another day smiling at her while she was off with him. And maybe, just maybe, there's something healing about knowing I wasn't alone in this. That Megan and I both got blindsided, but we found out, and we're moving forward. Funny enough, we still text sometimes. Just checking in. Not in a romantic way, more like war buddies who survived the same battlefield. So yeah. That's the story. My wife's yoga classes turned out to be an affair with her instructor, who turned out to be a serial cheater engaged to another woman. My marriage is over, his engagement is over, and both of us are left picking up the pieces. If you take anything from this, let it be this, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And don't let anyone gaslight you into ignoring the signs. Thanks for reading.